Hello and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in small towns across the Midwest. I'm your host, Allison Hassler with Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals.
And I'm Russell Williams. I'm director of Ethos Small Business Incubator and Co-working Spaces here in downtown Marion, Illinois. Thanks for joining us. You are in the historic Citadel building right here on Tower Square Plaza. And we want to thank our sponsors for also making this podcast possible. And that includes Fowler Heating and Cooling, the Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley-Davidson and RV, the Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, and of course our producer, Union Street Arts.
And you can join the Small Town Big Business community by subscribing to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And in addition to that, Facebook and YouTube. Remember, subscribing is free, and that will give you notifications when we release new podcasts every 2 weeks.
And if you want to know more about the Small Town Big Business podcast, you might be one of our guests. Just contact me at russell@watermarkethos.org. You can also ask questions about Ethos Small Business Incubator and Co-working Spaces. You can also find us on Facebook, and it is Ethos at the Citadel on Tower Square.
And if you are new to our podcast, welcome and thank you for joining us. We interview successful business owners that thrive in small towns and finding out what it is that makes them tick.
Our special guest today is Shane Walker of 618 Fight Fitness. How's it going, Shane?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on here today.
We've been trying to get you on here.
I know, it's been a while.
Yeah.
We've been working on it. We've been busy, but we're here now.
You've been busy.
You've been very, very busy. That's
here
right.
now.
I'm so glad you can join us.
Yeah.
Thank
welcome.
you again.
So we're going to dig into some questions
Okay.
to find out about you and your business
Okay.
here in Marion.
Well, we can start out with what is 618 Fight Fitness?
So, 618 Fight Fitness 618 is a hybrid martial arts studio. I teach boxing, kickboxing to adults, and then I teach Kempo Jitsu to the children's class. So that's pretty much the basics of what we're doing there.
Full disclosure, my son Joshua, who's going to turn 9 this Saturday,
Right.
has been part of your program for the last year.
Yes, Joshua orange belt now, I do believe.
Yeah.
Joshua. Joshua. Every child in the dojo brings a special dynamic to the dojo, and Joshua, he brings something special to the dojo, which is determination. Never gives up, never quits. May not be able to do the exact technique or do the exact everything everybody else is doing, but he won't quit. He'll keep trying. So every child brings a special dynamic, and that's his. He has resiliency.
Yeah. So how'd you get into this? What's your life story?
So I've always been into martial arts all my life. When I was a little kid, watching Ninja Turtles, watching Bruce Lee, and Chuck Norris, and just watching TV is where you first get your experience with martial arts. And for me, it was Bruce Lee, and always wanted to do it, but it was something that at the time my single mother couldn't afford to do. And actually, I would walk past this martial arts studio right here every day on my way to Washington School, and I would always want to go in there and practice, but couldn't. But my mother would rent me the movies. We would go to the Circus Video, and we would rent videos, and I would come home and watch the movies and practice in my room. And so it was always a passion, something I wanted to do. But when I became an adult, I kind of lost that vision, going through high school and then going through your early 20s. And I seen a martial arts fight on TV, and it brought that spark right back in me. It was like that very next weekend I started training at a gym, at a dojo. And
Now, Rocky did that for me, but I didn't really get that far down the road. But still, when I watch it, I'm like that theme, that theme music,
get you ready. So that's what started it, and now we're where we're at now.
That's awesome.
I always had the warning of when my brother would watch, my older brother by 4 years, would watch a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that he would turn around after those credits lined up, and I was in for it. I was going to be the sparring partner, whether I wanted to be or not. So.
Same.
That's right.
Same here,
So you grew up here?
Yes, I grew up
Illinois.
in Marion, born and raised in Marion. I lived here pretty much all my life, even as an adult, but I have moved away and lived in several different places, but the majority of my life is spent right here in Marion.
Yeah, we both lived in Atlanta in Georgia, so we both had that big city experience too. Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite part about being a business owner and starting 618 Fight Fitness?
what's the best part about being a business owner?
Yeah.
I think the best part about being a business owner is the sense that you control your destiny. I think that's like the most gratifying part of it, is like you're controlling your destiny, and then the freedom to make changes where you see, because that's something I've working for, all my life. You see something in the business you're working for that you want to change, but you can't change it. And I think that's one of the best things when you're owning your own business, that you get to be hands-on and make those changes when you see fit to make them. That's one of the best parts of it.
Yeah. So ownership was always part of your plan?
Yeah, even since I was a kid, I never remembered ever saying I wanted to work at something. I've always wanted to create something. I remember vividly wanting to start a clothing line when I was in my early teens, and doing different things like that. Public speaking was something I was thinking about when I was a teen as well. So I feel like I'm going in the direction of where I was chosen to do. I don't think I was ever the one to want to go do a service that I wasn't providing myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started your business, were you working somewhere else? What was that transition like? Did you have to overlap a little bit before you could step into that role?
So I was living in Georgia, and I decided that I was going to start my own business, and I used my 401k at the job I was working at that time to help fund that. But when I moved back to Marion, I actually came to Marion to visit a few weeks before I decided to put my 2 weeks notice in. And I met with a few landlords to find a location, and I had the promise on the location, so I went back home, put my 2 weeks notice in, cashed out my 401k, and when I moved back, I was a long-time employee for Mike Mills at 17th Street, and I reached out to them. The whole time I've been gone, I've always would come back and work for them at their cook-off, so I knew I was had a type of job waiting for me. So when I came back, they offered me a management job to help me make that transition. So for about a couple months, I worked there managing, helping them at the restaurant while I was building out the dojo and getting all that ready.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's really cool, because it sounds like they knew the writing was on the wall that you weren't going to stay there very long, but they were able to help you out and which is a beauty of another small business owner in the supporting you in your transition. That's really great.
Yep.
Yeah, and you had some management experience there, so that comes into play here.
Oh yeah, everything that I do in my business, because I wear all the hats right now, pretty much all the hats in what I do. Every single thing that I'm able to do is because of all my work experience, from food and beverage to call center work to construction work. Everything has played a part in what I do now.
That's great.
Yep, everything.
Yeah. Well, I call you, a developer of people. I think that's what we have in common, because it doesn't matter what age you are, we're trying to help somebody else be successful. And so even though you don't employ staff right now, you do have some people that you've developed into leaders and coaches and teachers at your place, right?
Right. Yeah, so I do have a crew of people at the dojo that helps me out. I do have some youth student coaches, and I have some parent coaches as well to help coach and help facilitate all type of stuff around the dojo. It's definitely not me alone. I got a great team of people, and that was one thing I seen in the questions we were going over. It was like that was one thing I wanted to mention, was that the people in the dojo make the dojo. I don't make the dojo. And when I first opened the dojo up, I was always thinking, you got this magic number because you're counting your bills and you're like, at this many people, this many memberships. And what I've grown to realize real quick is not the quantity of members, it's the quality of members.
Yeah.
The quality, like during the pandemic, I had members that stayed with me even though I couldn't offer them a service, because they believed in that are always willing to help with anything we do, like the tournaments and all that stuff. I couldn't do that stuff by myself. Yeah. And they're always there, willing to help and do their part to make everything work.
Good. So do you feel you have community support too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the dojo itself, the small community we have inside of there is one thing, but then also the community, the Marion, the Southern Illinois, has been behind the dojo 100%. From the day we opened, I did my grand opening, I had maybe 10 businesses donate to a gift basket for a raffle at the grand opening. And then we've had local businesses sponsor everything we've done up until this point. You know, we got students traveling to Nashville, Milwaukee, St. Louis, all over. That stuff costs money. It's an expensive sport to participate in on a high level, and the community has backed these kids and competing in these things. The tournaments we've done, the community has been there to support and help bring these tournaments to Southern Illinois. So yeah, it's been great. Yeah, great support.
Talk about those tournaments, because they're new for Marion, and it's because you brought them here.
Right. Well, Marion, we've had in the past, and this was back when I moved here, we had mixed martial art events here in Marion, but we never had a tournament for the youth and a tournament for beginners. So it's kind of like an incubator for if kids really want to take this serious and go on to a high level, they'll get the experience in these tournaments. The tournaments that we're hosting here in Marion is the IKF, which is the International Kickboxing Federation. And me and my students were traveling to go to these tournaments, traveling to St. Louis, traveling to Nashville, all over to go to these tournaments. And that costs a lot of money. These parents got to pack up, take off work, do everything to get there. And then we have to pay to enter the tournaments also. And we were going to the tournaments doing really well. And I have a pretty big school. I didn't realize how big our school was. Because I come from a city with big schools, but our school is right there on that level. And I asked the promoters there, how can we get this in our town? You know, I explained to them where we're located at. You know, there's like 4 or 5 major cities you can get here within 3 to 4 hours from any direction. And it made sense to them. And they seen what I was doing, and it made sense to them, and it makes sense for me to have the tournament here. So we kind of came together. They made me a promoter, and now we have the events in here in Marion, which saves my parents from having to travel. And we're better located. Like St. Louis can get here quick, Memphis can get here quick, Nashville can get here quick, Indianapolis, Chicago, everybody can get here with a pretty much fair drive for everybody. So it's like even battlegrounds.
Yeah, and you had this first tournament just a few weeks ago. Was it beginning of March or February?
March 6th.
March 6th, okay. And you had it at the Pavilion,
right?
Which is the biggest event center that we have here in Marion. That's spectacular. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How many folks were involved in that?
So the tournament, we had over 5 different states show up. 15 different schools compete in it, and looking at the pictures, I would say there was probably about 300 spectators that came and watched. So it was pretty good. Wow. It turned out great for the first one, and I'm hoping the next one, April 15th, to be even bigger than that one.
That's excellent. So congratulations.
Yep. So cool.
Much success.
Thank you.
Well, what's a day in the life of Shane Walker, entrepreneur, business owner? What does that look like?
This is a new Allison question, by the way, for those who've been watching. And they just ask the same questions. No, we don't ask the same questions.
And it's a tricky question because it's different every day. Yeah. But the main difference is just because of how my time is set up, because the dojo isn't my first class is at 5 o'clock. So it seems like I have all this leisure time up until 5 o'clock. And that's not the case. There's a lot
and it's exactly why I want to ask this question.
That's not the case. There's a lot of marketing that you have to do every day. You have to constantly be on top of your game with the marketing. And you have to just also look for new ways every day to keep the business growing. I believe if it's not growing, even if it's just adding a new picture on the wall, it's dying. So I believe every day I'm trying to figure out how to keep this thing growing. And like I say, even if it's just adding artwork on the wall, something has to get done every day to keep the place growing, or it's dying. That's what I think in business. And so that's what I'm doing every day, is trying to figure out how to keep this thing growing, whether I'm just Googling, researching, reading, networking, brainstorming. That's mostly the day. But as far as getting to work, like I tell the students also, there was a time when I did have to go to a job and work for someone else, which is honorable and nothing wrong with that. But I remember when I would be there, I would be counting the clock to leave, watching the clock to leave. And now I tell my students all the time, I'm sitting at home watching the clock, can't wait to get here at 5 o'clock. So that's one of those great things that's the dynamic has changed from sitting there watching the clock, ready to clock out, to I'm in my day-to-day and I can't wait to go clock in. So that's been one of the something cool about it.
Yeah. Has it been tough developing this particular business in a small town?
I think it hasn't been that hard for me because there wasn't that many martial arts studios in the town already. I think the challenge has been figuring out how to market and that it makes sense financially wise, because you can just pretty much rely on Facebook, but you want to do more than that. But as far as starting out in Marion, it hasn't been hard, like I said, because of the community support, being born here, knowing a lot of people, having a track record in martial arts, and a lot of the people that are my age, I went to school with them, and now I'm teaching their kids, so they already had they already were familiar with me from school and growing up with me, and they followed me on my martial arts journey, and I think that inspired some people, and then I'm picking a lot of momentum up off of that, being consistent for that many years. But yeah, I don't think it's been too much of a challenge. But I feel like when starting any business, if there's already an existing business in that market, you can't be the same. You have to be different and better also. Yeah. So I think I think I brought a lot of my experience from the city as far as the aesthetics and the way we market and brand the business has been a little bit different than the martial arts studios in the past, and I think that's gave me a big leap as well.
Yeah, I think your personal credibility adds a lot of that too, because I knew about you on Facebook, and then you and I met here at the Citadel before our kids got involved in the program, and I think it was my trust that you're a relatable person. You know what you're doing. You're not trying to throw something out there that you don't know. Right. It's a program you know about, but you don't know it. It's because you went through all these stages yourself. You developed yourself, and now you want to help other people. And you show up and you do it, and what you say you're going to do, you do it. Yeah. And I love it. Lately, you've allowed the students to know that this is when the time is that you can move up. You can go from one belt to the next belt. Right. And so that inspires the kids. I mean, that's one of the newer things that you're doing. And I love that, because it's like, hey, I've got till this date, or Joshua tells us, I've got to this date to move up into that. And so he knows.
That's something to look forward to in the track. And that's something that came along with growing as fast as we did. With business, a lot of times people think you have to have it all figured out right now, have it all ironed out. And you need to just do it. Just like when you were born, I mean, you just go, and as you grow, you will. And that was one of the adjustments we had to make, because I grew almost double the students within like a 2-month time. And it was like, when it was just 20 students, it was easy to keep up with all 20 and figure out who's ready to do this. Not anymore. So, and it was like, but when I was talking about earlier about being able to make adjustments right when, it was like one day sitting there like, oh, this is too much. Yeah. That night, typed up the new, this is how we're doing it tomorrow, and was able to implement that the next day, put it into play, and already see benefits from it. So that's another reason why I like being in business for myself. But little things like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So what are some of the tactical resources that has helped your business in terms of growth or pivoting or, increasing numbers? You'd mentioned social media. That's been a great tool for you to be able to help promote. But are there any other resources that you've found that are really valuable for your business, especially because you have grown so fast?
The number one resource is the members, is the customers you currently have right now. What you have right now, taking care of them is your number one resource, because they're going to spread the word. They're going to promote and wear your brand. They're going to share your post. So like, Facebook's no good if you don't have the community. So everything starts with taking care of what you have. So if you're starting anything and you got 5 customers, you just take care of those 5 customers, and then they'll take care of you. That's your number one resource, is your clientele, your customers, your members, is just taking great care of them. Delivering more than you promised is another big thing. I had read in books before, like, if you want to raise, you got to do more than you're paid for before you're even And it's the same thing as an entrepreneur. You have to do, like, if you're telling you're going to do this, do more than what you provided, what you said you were going to provide.
Very well said.
Is your number one way to get more business or to grow, I think.
Yeah. And you have whole
Nice.
families involved in the programs now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have mom or dad or both
Oh, yeah.
in an adult program, and then their kids are in programs.
Oh yeah, I have families where they have all three of their kids doing the kids class, and then both of the parents are doing the adult class, or maybe the two of the kids do the martial art class, and one parent does the class, but the other parent is involved in everything we're doing as far as setting stuff up for tournaments, everything. So
Yeah.
it's and it's a family in there, and I say member and use words like that, business talk, but they're definitely family. They've taken care of me, and I try my best to take care of them.
Yeah,
as
well, that's community. What you've done is
Yeah.
you've built your own community
Right.
there where people feel like this is where they belong, right? And they're growing,
Right.
and you're inspiring them and leading them to the next level, which is what great communities do.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
What are some of the benefits that you see in your members, and how the dojo helps them grow? And it's more than just the physical components of the fighting that they're learning, but what is it that you see and how they grow, and how does Fight Fitness benefit the members?
So for the children and the adults, sometimes it's the same, but sometimes it's different. For the kids, the main thing that I see that they get from it, from me, being their coach, is okay. There is something that's going to be tough and consistently tough all the time. Like there is some things and some people that are going to be consistently tough, and that's one of the things I think they get from it. I think they also learn that they can do a lot more than they thought they could do. Because I try to push them all the way into that point of breaking. And there's kids that cry almost every day just from the simple 5-minute run we do at the beginning. But when they get that run done, and they may cry, but then the next time they come in and then they can do it, and they still struggle, and then they start doing it no problem, and then they'll see a new kid come in. Now they're down the line, and they see them come in a run, and then they can look back on that and be like, I was there at one point, and then this kid has somebody to look up to. So I think they see their growth immediately, not instantly, but they see their growth fast, and they get confidence from being able to defend yourself comes with confidence. There's no way it can't come with it. And I think when they see how hard it is to train and do it, and they're getting through it and they're doing it and they know how to defend themselves, that confidence bleeds into everything they're doing in life, because it's done it for me. I've had everybody has their insecurities or whatever, but from doing martial arts, being humbled from martial arts, it's not about it humbles you. Especially when you're an adult and doing it on a high level, you get humbled really quick by it. And I think that's helped me grow as a person and made me more confident as a person. I think that's what they get from it. The most thing is confidence.
I mean, you provide a great service to our families. I mean, because we're no longer raised on farms, so we're not being disciplined by working with our mom and dads on farms or, industry and things like that. And so where in our community can our kids learn discipline? Because at home on a screen, on electronics, they're being entertained, but they're not learning any discipline, right? And so parents need help. Parents can only do so much. So you come alongside parents and you're like, I mean, you're the sensei. Our Joshua is like, it's sensei, right?
Joshua's serious about it.
He is. And so you've added, because it's what we were looking for our son Joshua. Whether he's going to be a great fighter or not is not as important to us as in he needs somebody other than us to learn some discipline. And you've added that to our lives. And I appreciate that very much.
I appreciate you bringing him in and trusting me to do that for him. Yeah, that's awesome.
If you were to go back and tell either your younger self what getting started when you were in Atlanta and you had that that spark of wanting to start this business, what would you say to yourself as advice that maybe you didn't know then that you know now, or that feeding that energy into another entrepreneur, a budding entrepreneur, what advice would you give to that person or to your younger self?
the advice I would give is that you have to get rid of doubt. If you have doubt in anything you're doing, it's probably not going to work. You have to get rid of doubt. You have to be your own biggest fan, your own biggest believer. So you have to, a lot of people won't be cheering for you or cheering for your ideal because they may have a fear of doing something, or they just don't see it. It's not their vision. It's not their dream. So you have to accept that there may be a time period when you're trying to pursue something where you're the only fan and you're the biggest fan and you're the only one that believes in it. And you have to accept that, even if it's, friends, family members, close people to you, you have to be your own. Don't expect anybody to be more of a fan for whatever you're dreaming than yourself. If you have to believe it 100%. And then if you believe it 100%, you don't have to do it all in one day, just one brick at a time. Like, don't try to just build the whole brick wall. Just lay one brick, and then tomorrow lay another perfect brick, and then tomorrow lay another one, and then you'll have the wall. And I think if you do that, you'll be on your way. And then just believe it. Whatever you're doing, don't do it for yourself. Like, don't do something because it's a trend. Like, sometimes I know people get into business because it's a trend. These businesses are popping up, so it's a trend to get it. Like, whatever you're passionate about, and sometimes you have to go back to when you were a youth to find that. And I think as we grow, we get influenced by a lot of things in life, so we push what we thought, like martial arts, push that to the side, I need to go work, do this. And then I think that's a lot of our dreams. And people, you ask them, what's your dream, what's your passion? They say they don't know. They know, I just think they are embarrassed to say what it is because they feel how you're going to feel about it, or they think you're going to say something about it. But I encourage everybody, whatever that, when you were a kid or a young adult and you're thinking this is what I wanted to do in life, that's probably what you need to go do in life. That's probably your calling right there. Yeah. You've just been avoiding it.
Well, you really have been living your dream.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Right?
Really.
And you're about to be a daddy.
Yeah, that's
exciting.
That's crazy.
But what's next? Other than being daddy, which is big. I tell you right now, that's big. But other than, this dream that you're really living, you've done great things for our community, and it's going to keep going, tournaments here in our region. What else? You got anything else out there?
So, right now, just the dojo. Promoting tournaments is the second. What I'm diving in right now is promoting tournaments, and then obviously I have a child on the way. But in the future, I want to do more. I want to have the dojo. I want to do tournaments, and I want to do some like commentating on fights and ring announcing. I want to get back into that type of stuff as well.
You've done a lot of that.
Yeah, so that's some of the stuff I want to do.
Yeah, maybe do your own podcast again.
I don't know about the podcast. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work lining people up and getting.
It's a lot of work to do a podcast. It's a lot of work. But yeah, I don't know if that's something I want to do. But I do want to go on more podcasts and be better at this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's another question that we have been asking everybody is that with Ethos being here and being an incubator for small businesses, what would be something that you would find very helpful as an entrepreneur, or if you were to start another business? What types of resources would be beneficial for a growing business such as yours?
I think resources would be off the top of my mind, thinking about like if a new business is coming in town, what would help them, what would they need? I think kind of like a book, and in this book, in my mind, I'm seeing this book that has everyone that has commercial spaces in it. In this book, I see everyone that offers media type stuff in it. In this book, I see everyone that offers anything business related, marketing in it. So where you have this one, like you come to town, here's the Magic Marion book, you open it up, you can find realtors in this book for commercial space. You can find, that's just something in my mind that I think that would, like this glossary to help you get going, in which I feel like the Ethos would facilitate that glossary.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's how we first met. We just talked about that
Yeah.
up here. That's excellent. Are we missing anything? Anything else you want to include?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Well, you've been excellent.
Well, thank you guys for having me on here. I'm nervous, man.
Did you feel a little bit more comfortable? You seem comfortable.
I
Yeah,
did?
very
Oh, I'm
comfortable.
not. See, I'm itching and have my nervous twitches going on here.
Well, Sensei, Shane Walker, Fight Fitness in Marion, Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
this
having
was
me.
fun.
Appreciate
This
it.
is.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I feel like I want to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to bring your kids in there and have them try a class
Yeah.
on a Tuesday or Thursday with Joshua.
Yeah.
Have them
Yeah.
come in and try a class. They'll like it.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you, and thanks for all of our supporters and listeners of Small Town Big Business. We want to thank you for watching and listening to our podcast. We also want to thank our sponsors for making this possible, and that includes Fowler Heating and Cooling, Arcadia Wealth Group, the Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Swinford Media Group, and of course our producer, Union Street Arts, and that's Luke O'Neill at Union Street Arts. Thank you so much for producing our podcast. If you're interested in your own podcast, just reach out to Luke O'Neill at Union Street Arts.
And look for the Small Town Big Business episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Podbean, and Apple. And of course, we're also on the full-length feature film with Facebook and YouTube. Subscribing is free, and you will get the upcoming episodes that are released every 2 weeks.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Russell Williams.
And I'm Allison Hassler. Have a great one.
See you next time.